While U.S. producers and processors face a number of challenges, red meat exports provided a bright spot for the industry at the U.S. Meat Export Federation Spring Conference in Minneapolis.
The exports are shining light. Red meat exports are really the shining light right now in the meat industry. We've got a lot of challenges coming at us like we always do. We have the pork prices, the inflated input costs, port issues, Prop 12. But yet, exports have really been good here this first quarter this year.
Mexico tops the list of export markets where beef and pork purchases have continued to grow this year. Guest speaker Kenneth Smith Ramos, a former chief NAFTA negotiator from Mexico, talked about the importance of maintaining food security for North America through strong trade relationships.
Every event that you get a chance to participate in, I think, and I would recommend that you send that signal. If we want to preserve the Mexican market, if Mexico wants to preserve access to the U.S. market and to the Canadian market and vice versa, we must put food security at the top of the agenda so that our governments, especially in the case of the Mexican government, understand that this is not an ask just from private sector companies that want to make a lot of money. Of course, that's what business is about, that's what trade is about, generating economic opportunity. But also having the governments understand that through international trade, through barrier-free trade in our region is how we're going to strengthen food security going forward.
Also addressing the USMEF Spring Conference was former House Agriculture Committee Chairman Collin Peterson, who gave attendees a look inside discussions for the next Farm Bill. Peterson urged the industry to press trade issues to the top of the discussion as the new Farm Bill is debated this year.
My experience, when people come into my office, and I used to meet with everybody that came from my district, no matter what, they would talk about the Farm Bill. And they would talk about crop insurance, they'd talk about Title I, they'd talk about conservation, talk about rural development. And then at the end of the meeting, they'd say, oh, and by the way, we got to do something about trade. That was the extent of it. So you've got to get to these members of Congress, and it should be the first thing you talk to them about, not the last thing. And I think if you approach it that way, you can get some people to the table that are going to put this on the top of the agenda, not the bottom.
Other highlights of the spring conference included a presentation by 5 USMEF chefs on global work to promote undervalued cuts, such as the pork loin and beef round, and a close look at efforts to grow exports to the ASEAN region with retiring Senior Vice President of Asia Pacific Joel Haggard and his replacement longtime South Korea Director Ji Hae-young. For more about the U.S. Meat Export Federation and our work around the world, visit usmef.org.